Hello, welcome back. You're listening to another episode of Video Ditch, joined as always by Sam and Nick. And today we are speaking to half the team behind quite the groovy game. Nick, would you like to give our guest a little intro?
Certainly. So if you were a young man or lady, whatever, perhaps at your local pizza parlor or Nickel City penny arcade type establishment in the early 2000s, you have a grease-covered hands after eating one too many slices of pizza, and you're perusing the cabinets, and you see a game that's not like the rest. Instead of a regular Street Fighter title, they're kicking and punching, certainly, but on the sides, there's these giant, beautiful blocks of gems getting crushed and destroyed, and with every gem destroyed, the other character gets horrifically injured. These guys are making that long-forgotten type of game a reality once again with a hot new game, Pip Puzzle. Is a gem fighter game for the modern age with what I consider to be really fantastic pixel graphics that I tried to replicate for the announcement. And, some people could say it's a stylistic interpretation. I would say it's a pale imitation. But anyways, it's a beautiful game. Got fun gameplay. It's got puzzling action, everything you could ever want. And right here with us is, I believe, Benny. Is that right? Or Beny?
That's right.
Benny, yeah.
Benny works.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how are you doing tonight as we begin?
Tired. Tired and a bit exhausted. So there is a bit of how do you say? There's a bit of a stereotype with the British that we can't handle the summers too well, and I'm dealing with that quite a lot right now.
See.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, though, I'm doing pretty well. So it's mainly crunching because we got invited to Evo in August.
Oh wow! Really?
Very nice. Yeah, that's very good.
And we want to polish up the game before it. So we've been working pretty much nonstop to do that.
Very good. Very good. Before we go any further, would you like to tell the viewers and listeners what it is you do with the game, at your role at the company as it is?
So I pretty much do everything that is in the engine. So we've got one guy, third wheel, and he's working on the engine from the ground up in C#. And then I'm doing pretty much everything else. And then we're commissioning two people for the music and for the big illustrations that you see. I do the pixel arts, I do the trailers, marketing, and a bunch of other stuff, really.
And today we'll be giving you the classic Video Ditch treatment. Going from past, your history with video games to your current project, and then whatever lies beyond the horizon. I suppose with that, do we want to just delve into your gaming history, I suppose, where your relationship with video games began?
Yeah. What was the start of all this?
So I have to really go back. It makes me feel kind of old. So I started with the Sega Mega Drive, and that was known as the Sega Genesis in the US. Mm-hmm. So really good start. I also started with the Game Boy as well, and the Genesis games that we had were games like Gwynnog, if you know of that. It's a sort of Gradius-like game where you're a sort of angel and you're shooting all of these weird demons. It's quite a cool one. It's very obscure, though, I've noticed. We also started with Sonic 2 as well, real classic, and Shining in the Darkness as well, which is a pretty good dungeon
RPG. Yeah,
that's right. For the Game Boy, though, we had, generally speaking, more standard titles like Super Mario Land, Pokemon Yellow, of course. That's a real classic. But this game probably had the most influence for me when it came to the original game, not Pip Puzzle, but when it came to Pip, which Pip Puzzle is a sort of sequel to Pip, which is kind of a weird sort of scenario. But Pip 1 hasn't been released yet, which is the funny thing.
Okay. I was wondering if I missed something. Yes, I see.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But Mega Man 5 for the Game Boy had a big influence for me. It was a really, really good. I'm a huge fan of Mega Man, huge fan, especially the X series, I would say. But Mega Man 5 for the Game Boy is very much up there. It's a really, really good game. And I used to play it all the time. Very interesting music as well. It has more harmonic music compared to the other Mega Man games, which are more melody driven. So it's definitely an interesting sort of game to play. What else? So I played Final Fantasy Legends 2 and 3, which was kind of interesting because apparently they're not even Final Fantasy games.
The Saga games, yeah.
That's right, yeah. They were rebranded because marketing.
Yeah. They were like, no one is going to play this shit if we don't put Final Fantasy on it.
Yeah, that's the only RPG that exists. Yeah.
Honestly, it's the only Final Fantasy games that I was actually interested in. It's kind of funny. I should go back to the other Saga games. Yeah.
You should. They're very good.
Very cool.
Yeah, those are the ones I started with. Played other games like, Bubble Ghost and stuff like that. But those are the ones that I really started with, the consoles.
Okay. And from those early days, did you kind of figure out that like those were the genres that you were going to gravitate towards, as you got older, kind of, I guess, more kind of precision-based things or kind of puzzle-based stuff like that? Or were you just kind of playing whatever you could get your hands on?
Pretty much playing whatever I could get my hands on. I didn't really gravitate towards specific genres. Like, I wasn't too interested in like high-level strategy games or anything like that. Like, I used to like Advance Wars quite a lot. I like those sorts of games, but I didn't like the sort of XCOM-like games.
Right on. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Nick, any questions regarding the past?
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice, shockingly, there are 0 fighting games in your history. So how exactly did that lead to the creation of a puzzle fighter?
That's a good question. So we did have fighting games, but they came later on. So we had Tekken 3 for the PlayStation.
Okay. Yeah.
And I love that game, especially you had that farting dinosaur, which
Gone, right?
Gone. Yeah.
Gone. That's his name. And you also had the beach ball mode as well. So Tekken 3 was an outstanding game. And then we liked it so much that we went with Tekken 4 afterwards on the PlayStation 2. And it was still a good game. It was still a really good game, but it was definitely different.
Yeah,
they were definitely
different. Definitely a bit of a departure, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we kind of missed out on Tekken 5, which is kind of unfortunate because it was, apparent. I've heard that it's kind of like a sort of sequel to Tekken 3.
Yeah.
Like it's more stylized like Tekken 3. Yeah. But outside of that, we didn't really play any other fighting games, honestly. Like, we didn't even play Street Fighter. Like, I did play a little bit of Street Fighter at a friend's house. But this is like when I was really young and it was only like once or twice. And I started it. I was not good at Street Fighter. We had it on the Game Boy Advance as well. That's about it.
Very cool. Very cool. Nick, any further questions?
So, the main thing that I'm wondering also, in addition to that, is I'm noticing a lot of like platformers, a lot of, especially on the Game Boy, the Mega Man series. And I'm seeing that kind of influence in Pip Puzzle with the actual fighting characters do have that sort of NES Game Boy Color look to them. And the backgrounds do sort of have that more detailed, definitive, or not definitive, but I guess nicer looking Genesis kind of look. The Genesis, fact of the matter is, it just is a more powerful system than the NES.
More defined, a little sharper.
More defined, yeah. So it is nice to see how those influences did end up shaping the look of Pip Puzzle, I would imagine.
Yeah, very much so. Like, you might have noticed a lot of the... I've heard that the game looks kind of gritty, which is kind of funny. But a lot of the backgrounds are darker, generally speaking. Yes. And that's kind of not inspired, but that's because we started with the original NES sort of style, and then we ported it over.
Yeah, that kind of palette to start with.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Very cool. Very cool. I suppose as you grew older, did your relationship with video games change? When did you kind of become interested in game dev? When did that sort of initial spark begin for you?
So I've always been interested in game dev. I would have probably been year 2. So year 2 is grade 1, I believe. I would have been quite young when I really started like being like, oh, I want to make games when I'm older, sort of thing. But I was of the sort of mindset where I would do it as a sort of hobby and then maybe transition into it after. I wanted to be an IT technician back then. But yeah, I didn't really do anything too serious with it though, outside of making a scrapbook and printing stuff off that I liked. And then kind of creating a sort of world from that sort of thing. I started using ClickTeam about 5 years after that. And then I got filtered by it. I wasn't too good at it.
Right on.
And was that the initial stage before transitioning to Pip and then Pip Puzzle afterward?
So we started with, we started with ClickTeam, but that wasn't for Pip. That was just for general stuff on, other, like we were making all sorts of different games before that. But with Pip 1, we actually chose a custom engine as well. So this is a different coder. We chose a custom engine because we didn't want to deal with all of the faff of, licensing and that sort.
Right.
And we also, the coder that I found for it is kind of crazy as well. So coders can be like that. Like, I'm going to make my own, own whole engine and do all of this stuff with it. So pretty much was that of that sort of mindset. Same thing with the coder that, I'm doing a Pip Puzzle with as well. So he's mad. So
yeah,
but all
I can't relate.
I
can't relate. Very cool though. Yeah. Okay. Well, I suppose, that brings us right to Pip Puzzle. With this project and the current team you're working with, you kind of mentioned having another coder. How many projects would you say you guys have kind of worked on together before leading up to this one?
0. So this is our first project.
Very good. Very good. Okay. And viewers, listeners, there is a demo out on Steam. I took the time to play it before the show, and I know Nick has you spent time playing on the show floor, right?
Yes, I played it at PAX. Played it with our friend Beatstar. I beat him very badly. It was great for me. I was very happy to do so. Yeah,
I suppose, Benny, in your words, how would you describe what Pip Puzzle is? How would you pitch it?
I would say puzzle fighter with action skills and evolving atmospheres is like super condensed elevator pitch.
Right on.
So if I wanted to expand on that, I would probably say something along the lines of, it's a puzzle fighting game where you put gems down and then you detonate those gems to send junk gems over to the other side, and also to charge your character's unique ability as well. And these unique abilities can be from things like turning the other screen black and white for 2 turns. That's a really fun one. Dropping balls on them on the other side to crush gems. Smashing through gems, picking gems up and then placing them down elsewhere, throwing bombs onto your own side to blow up gems. All sorts, really. So all sorts of different, action skills. So, and with that, the atmosphere changes as you play as well. So the music, composed by Steel Plus, by the way, if you know One Step from Eden, Rabin Steel, he's the composer for Pip Puzzle as well.
Nice.
He's doing the music. As you play, the background evolves as well. So we have palette changes, we have complete background changes. Like, for example, I plan for Dystopia, for example, to have a fog that comes in and then the screen shakes as you play. So it's a sort of like an airborne soma sort of thing, where your senses are kind of distorted.
Yeah, keep the tension high.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds actually quite very fitting for Evo. I hope to see some footage of that. I'm hoping to see some matches of people getting furious and smashing their controllers. Really heightened, elevated emotions,
I'll see what I can do there. Because that would be fun.
Is the current demo build what you're going to be bringing to Evo, or have you guys been working on something new to showcase there?
No, we've been working on something new.
Right on.
So at the moment, I'm going through all of the poses, which, by the way, this is hell. So much. There's so many poses. I feel really bad about adding so many. I've been going through all of the old poses and polishing them up. We've been animating some of the poses as well on the engine level. So I've basically been animating them on the sprite level instead, so that we get better animation. Like, because we animate it on the engine level, we only have like going from point A to point B. So sometimes it looks a bit rough. So for some of the animations, I'm going through and basically changing that. So we just animate it on a raster base level instead. And some of them I've just completely scrapped the animations and I'm redoing them. So I can be a little
arduous task.
Yeah, I can be a bit picky when it comes to animations. So some of the animations I've just completely scrapped before. So it's probably shouldn't do that. But
I think that attention to details, it's going to shine through in the finish.
It's the heart of the artist. That's actually, that goes into the next thing. The kind of struggle of making good pixel art. It seems like what you're currently in the throes of is really getting that sense of fluidity and those impact frames and really getting everything really tuned down to the way you want it for a fighting style game.
Yeah, very much so. Like we have a lot more, how would you say, a lot more leeway, because with this, it's not like a fighting game in how it plays. Mm-hmm. So we can be a bit more, like, we don't have to worry about, this animation needs to have a strong startup, like a very fast startup sort of thing. It has been kind of painful because in some cases, some of the characters, because we've been redoing the moves and because we've been inventing new moves that don't exist in the first game, we've had to completely change everything up because of it. But that's also been a benefit to the first game as well, I would say, because with that, I've had some new ideas and then I can pull that back to the first game and make it better. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts in a sense.
Very interesting. What do you think are some of the challenges when it comes to like designing the UI elements, I suppose, or the action on screen, where like you want people to focus on, obviously the animations of these characters fighting, but then you don't want them to divert their attention from the gems as they come down. How do you kind of work around that? What's the process there?
So in game, we kind of cheated with that. If you have issues with being distracted, you can always turn on it's not exactly a cheat, it's a setting, and it just turns the screen, black behind the gems. So, and that's essentially our go-to for that. I have tried to make sure that there aren't any distracting things behind the, backgrounds, like where you're actually playing the game. I've tried to make the distracting things far away from the playfields. I've also done some other kind of sneaky things. So you might have noticed at PAX East, for example, you've got the bit at the top where the gems come from.
Yeah.
And I've actually sprited that on the sprite level rather than having like not sprite level, but I've sprited it on like a non-interface sort of level. So it's actually integrated with the level itself. One thing that's always kind of bothered me with games, especially with puzzle games, is usually they have everything on an interface sort of level, right? Where it's clearly separated from the game world. With this, I've tried to do that as little as possible to try and integrate it. And that's why you see, for example, with the level itself, it is actually like there is barely any interface outside of the skill gems. We're going to have a score counter as well. And also some wind indicators and stuff like that. So we're going to try and do that as much as possible. So I know that there's a name for it, but it doesn't come to mind right now.
No worries.
Full-on fighting game UI, essentially. So I guess the main, in addition to this, I think that the build that I played at PAX, I don't know if I just couldn't utilize them or if they weren't fully implemented yet. But you mentioned action-specific skills. Is that just going to be like a toggleable button that you can press, or is it going to be a full-on motion input or anything per character to activate those?
So you can activate those via X, and they were at PAX East, but we noticed that people didn't use them too much, which was kind of
I did not know how to activate it.
Yeah, if you press X, so you need to charge up your special ability first, and then once you press X, it does it. It's as simple as that, really. We are thinking of maybe making it so that some action skills you hold down the button, and then you can aim it, and then you can let go, and then it releases it. But we need to figure out some things with netplay before we actually implement those. So
okay,
it's very good. I'll admit I'm not super great at puzzle games. So I started up the demo. I was like, I'll try medium. And I completely just got the floor wiped with me. So I took a step back. I did a few rounds on easy. I was having more success as the witch character. Her ability to kind of smash through with her tiles was making more sense to me. I suppose with the genre, kind of like compared to other established like Bubble Bobble or Puyo Puyo, with your game, what mark are you trying to leave on the genre, I suppose, with the mechanics that you're exploring?
That's a good question. I just want to make a fun game.
Hey, that's
like
wonderful motivation.
I'm not a sort of, grandiose sort of person. I just want to make a fun game.
Oh, right on, yeah.
It's very much a passion project sort of thing. And by the way, if it makes you feel any better for being bad at the game, our developer, he was very new. Like he'd never played Puzzle Fighter before at all, or any games like it, and he's pretty decent now. So he can match me pretty easily in Puzzle Fighter. So just need to practice.
I certainly felt like an understanding growing. Like by my third game, I was like, okay, right. The flow kind of begins to come to you intuitively. I suppose what are the challenges that come with making this sort of game approachable to people? Like what have the challenges been there? Are there any elements you feel like people should be seeing that they just don't, or?
Very much the action skill. So we need to figure out how to actually convey what the action skill does, which I think we've done at the character select. But let's be honest, if you're new to the game, you're probably not going to read that. But we also need to convey when you actually have the action skill as well. So you do have the sounds. Like whenever you have your action skill, you do have a sound that plays. But I want to add a sort of visual indicator, maybe like a flash that kind of goes horizontal to, indicate that you've got it, and then maybe flash the gem in the middle. But I need to experiment with that. That's probably the biggest thing that we have right now that we need to convey.
Yeah. If I had any critique of the demo, I did feel a bit just like without direction. In the beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe some yellow paints.
So for both of you, what was your favorite character? One and two. I'm the interviewer.
No, please ask away. Yeah.
So what was your favorite character in terms of the design, and also what was your favorite character in terms of the gameplay?
You want to go first, Nick, or
in terms of design, definitely. I don't remember his name. I think it was Gluttony. I'm not 100% certain. But the guy, he has the red eye, kind of like Ken Masters, shambling, almost corpse-esque.
Yeah, that's Samson. So we
Samson,
did call
sorry.
him. So no. You did name him correctly, but that was a sort of developer's sort of name. His name is Samson now, though.
Yeah, he was my favorite design. In terms of gameplay, I also don't remember his name. He's like a bald black guy with glasses, kind of like mechanical.
Tick.
Yes, he's my favorite one to play with.
Your build had many more characters, it seems. I only had access to 2.
But this was the PAX East builds.
Okay, right on. Yeah. Between the 2, I think visually I gravitated more towards like the bug catcher kind of gal, but I found the witch's ability like more intuitively useful, or immediately like able to grasp it. Yeah.
Pip lends herself better. The bug character is Pip. She leads herself better to gameplay where you set it up, right? So like you set up a load of gems and then you have like a crash gem and then you can net it and then throw it later. She's very much more proactive and Uma's more reactive.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have any more takes from the demo I spent. I mean, I do appreciate the classic, as the board gets fuller, music ramping up, the dynamic nature of the music, I suppose, kind of brings into a question. What's the process of coding that? Like, is that challenging? Is it something that's kind of easy to do? I know it's not a new concept in games, but I'm curious about your approach.
Would not speak to that because it's, I don't do the coding, but credit where it's due to the coder. We had the idea. I think I pitched it back in 2021. That's when we first started working on it. And yeah, he like I pitched it a bit more recently. Like this was just before Tokyo Game Show, and yeah, he got it done really, really quickly. So I imagine it wasn't too difficult. So we had made way more problems with implementing netplay. That was his big bane. So he hated netplay.
See,
yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, Nick, were you saying something?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, well, since none of us know, we can just say, for a normal person, very difficult task, maybe even impossible. but for third wheel, it's as simple as breathing.
There you go.
It is sheer skill. Yeah,
he's a wizard.
Like
same thing with the other guy as well. Like these two are master coders. Third wheel is kind of new to it though, which is kind of interesting. Like I don't know if I think he did start around about the time that he started working on Pip Puzzle. I think he did a bit before, but
kind of a trial by fire or crash course, making a whole game. Although, yeah, you said this game's been in production for 4 years now. Is that right?
Really? Right.
So I know you mentioned you're not someone with any sort of illusions of grandeur or anything. So when it comes to the people you've been working with outside of the game, like Cameron or Squishy, I remember you had the same booth as him at PAX. And he's also listed as one of the publishers for your game. Did that come about naturally? Like they were able to locate your game, they were intrigued by what you had, or did you reach out to them, or what was the process there? And was it the same with Steel Plus?
So with Steel Plus, Third Wheel knew about him, and he went to him and asked him about it. With Squishy, on the other hand, we we actually met him at Tokyo Game Show. He was at the stall just next to us. And yeah, we just hit it off immediately, essentially. We talked about all sorts of different things, pixel art, etc. And yeah, we wanted to work together. Simple as that.
Perfect.
I suppose this is kind of a more abstract question, but with pixel art, what do you feel are the advantages of that art style over something that's pushing for more hyper realism? I suppose, especially in this day and age of quadruple A productions, that sort of thing.
For me, firstly, it's more interesting. Secondly, there's more limitations to it. So because of that, usually a lot of really, really good games, you'll notice, especially on the Game Boy and on the NES, and especially the later titles, they have some really, really nice looking pixel art. Look at Restart, for example, for the Sega Genesis. Look at Kirby's Adventure. I've never played a Kirby game, but I remember Kirby's Adventure looking really nice. Mega Man 5 and 6, of course. Then you've got all of these really interesting styles that come from a sort of limitation that you have with the console and then adapting to those limitations. Like even just look at Mega Man, for example. Mega Man, the sprite for Mega Man is essentially two different sprites, if I recall correctly, and they're laid on top of each other, right? And that's cool, man. That's really cool.
That is
with pixel art, though, I feel like another really good thing that it has over hyper-realism is it just ages so much better. Look at Puzzle Fighter, for example.
Totally.
Look at Puzzle Fighter. You could release that game today and it would look good. But look at, for example, Siphon Filter 4. Siphon Filter 4 doesn't look quite as good. It was trying for that ultra realism, or not ultra realism, but it was trying for that sort of gritty realism. And it just doesn't look as good nowadays, unfortunately. So that's what I like about pixel art. There's also a lot more. Like I see pixel art kind of like anime in a sense, right? In terms of it's more of a genre sort of thing. You've got all of these different genres of pixel art rather than just pixel art in general.
Totally.
I feel like there's a lot more potential. Like there's a lot more potential with pixel art, I would say, compared to, hyper-realism. Because with hyper-realism, what exactly are you going to do? Like you could always do a sort of Last of Us sort of thing where you take hyper-realism and then you add zombies and stuff. Do that sort of thing. But I just never found that too interesting. I like the bright colors and stuff. So
right on, exactly. Yeah.
That's because it's not interesting because I can just look outside and it's right there. Who cares?
There's room at the table for
there isn't.
But
there's one more thing that one more thing though that I should mention about pixel art, and it's something that I've always loved about it. When you're working at smaller sizes for pixel art, a lot of it is left up to interpretation.
Yes.
So whereas with hyper-realism, it kind of like how the characters look and everything, it's kind of painted for you. Right?
Yeah.
So
there's nothing for you to interpret. Yeah, I understand that.
Very objective. Some will call hyper-realistic games the fool's medium. They can't comprehend the complexities of a beautiful Symphony of the Night portrait, for example. Take a wall and get a chicken. They don't know what it is. They're like, what is this, a gerbil? They're stupid. They don't get it.
Yeah, I love Symphony of the Night. It's probably one of my favorite games, actually. It's up there, like top 10, I'd say.
I'm more of a Aria of Sorrow fan, but Symphony of the Night's a fantastic game.
That was the Game Boy Advance one, right?
Yeah, Soma.
Yeah. I think I played Dawn of Sorrow. I didn't play Aria of Sorrow.
Dawn of Sorrow's all right. The art style change did hurt it for me, but it's all right. It's good.
Yeah. I was much more of a fan of Portrait of Ruin, and especially Order of Ecclesia. Those were probably my favorite Castlevania games on there.
Those are the best DS games by far. I think they're just re-released. I still haven't gotten a chance to try those out.
You should.
All right, you've convinced me. Just like that.
Just like that. Yeah, Nick, you got any questions regarding Pip Puzzle right now? Any more questions, I should say.
Let's see. Well, I guess the main thing is, I know you guys are going to EVO. Any chance of any sort of tournament? Maybe get some casters in there, someone shouting in people's ears as they're playing, or any displays? Maybe get Justin Wong in, something like that, or is it just going to be more casual sort of setup you've got there?
They do want to organize tournaments, so we're definitely going to have a few of them.
Beautiful.
Very cool.
Exactly what I want to hear.
Are you going?
No, I wish. God, I wish. I used to go every year, but not for a while.
I have a question regarding the game. Right now you have the sort of versus between the two players. Do you have plans on implementing any sort of like narrative element? I figure it would be, relatively light if you did, but is like an arcade or a story mode or anything like that in the works or planned for Pip Puzzle?
Absolutely. So this is a sequel to, of course, the previous game.
Right.
So we definitely want to integrate some of the, we definitely want to integrate a load of the story from the first game. And then I do want to make a game after this. So this is a sort of in-between sort of game between Pip 1 and Pip 2. So I do want a story to kind of put it all together. Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
So, and I've got Pip 2 mostly planned out. So it's just getting Pip Puzzle done and then Pip 1 done and then Pip 2 done. So that's going to be an absolute mess. But yeah, we do want a story mode and a bunch of other stuff. We also do want to implement a Zen Zone mode as well, where you just play the game. you don't have to worry about junk gems coming over.
Nice.
You just smash gems.
Like endless Tetris.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's so the release order is going to be the
so
spin-off, then the game, then the sequel. Is that right?
That's right.
Perfect. Yeah. Just be careful, line up with the Puyo Puyo situation. People get too invested in the spin-off.
Hey, I mean, it's been fun working on this game. So if that's the case, even if that were the case, though, I'd still work on, because the first game was very much a passion project. Like, it turned into a sort of back burner project after a while, but it was still a sort of passion project where you add to it every, spare 10 minutes that you had. I'd still do that for Pip 2. I'd probably, because there was so much, and because Pip 2, I think I've got planned about 47 stages so far, and we might have a few more. It's pretty much double the first game. I'll probably commission a few artists to help me with that. I also want to delve into a sort of psychosis sort of thing with the second game being Pip 2, of course.
Right.
With that, I want to, and I don't want to just do it as, like, I've seen it before in some games where they kind of change the art style to look all fancy-pantsy. I can't remember the name. It wasn't The Messenger. I think they had a specific reason for it. I haven't played it, but I think they did. But I want it to be tied to the lore of the first game as well. So something happens at the end, which I'm not going to delve into, but something happens at the end which affects the events of Pip Puzzle and Pip 2, which leads to this sort of psychosis sort of event where the art style changes every 3 stages or so.
Okay.
The hidden depths of this project. I would not have guessed that it would have any of this. Very cool to hear.
When you've been working on a game for so long, you kind of add these extra things. So, and that's pretty much what's happened here. Like Pip Puzzle, I've been working on since,
to hear it, yeah.
Technically since 2021. And that was where I provided basic artwork and stuff like that. And then I kind of stopped. So I was working on a bunch of other projects. And then I started working on it a lot more, not full-time, but like part-time around about 2022, a year later. So, but the original game, that's been essentially in work since about 2013.
Wow. Okay, so it's come a long way now by this point.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
I have to show you gameplay a bit after.
Yeah, that would be great.
Super curious. Yeah.
It seems like a dream project at this point. So is it something you started like in childhood and you've just been working on steadily until now, whenever you had the time, or is it what exactly is Pip 1?
Yeah, no, not to get too far off.
I know this is the Pip Puzzle episode, but I'm intrigued.
I know. Can we talk about one without talking about the other?
Yeah, it's like it's like a Tennessee Williams play. The character who wasn't there, so prominent.
Yeah,
I'm not cultured enough to get that reference.
He's some old Southern guy. It doesn't matter.
Fair enough. But yeah, Pip 1 kind of like there was a lot of influences from my childhood. Like I used to play, for example, Ape Escape. One of my top 10s. I loved Ape Escape. Ape Escape was great. But yeah, I used to play that quite a lot. And that's kind of where the net idea came from as well. Like I wanted to make a sort of net character where you pick up things and then you throw them elsewhere. Pip 1 was going to be a sort of puzzle platformer at first. And then I put a load of effort into it and I thought I might as well make this an action platformer at this point. But yeah, there are some interesting ideas that I had from my childhood where I implemented them into Pip, but a lot of the ideas are essentially taking those and then subverting them or essentially polishing them up or doing that sort of thing. And that happened more around 2013 or so.
Very cool. Were the early builds of this, was it 2D or was this a 3D sort of environment that you were exploring?
Oh no, this was 2D.
2D.
We do have some 3D planned, but it's a sort of foul 3D. And that's more so I will spoil part of the game. So the last level is a level called Moonstroke Mirage. And this is also going to be in Pip Puzzle as well. Moonstroke Mirage is, so you've got the alliteration for every stage as well, by the way.
Love it.
But with the last stage, so you've got all of these different stages and they're all NES styled in the original game. And then the last stage completely breaks that art style. It's a psychedelic aquarium, essentially, is the best way to describe it.
That's cool.
And you've got 3D objects, you've got all sorts of wacky stuff, and also some callbacks as well, some previous stages. We want to do something like that in Pip Puzzle as well, but instead of it going from, of course, a NES style into a Genesis style, we want to actually delve into 3D, into maybe some Earthbound or Mother-like, backgrounds.
Wow.
Just general psychedelics.
Yeah.
That's going to be That's going to be a pain though, because I want to code it in like, there are, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's something like processing or something like that. You can code these visuals, which look like the old demos that you used to see. You can have like all of these fancy visuals and everything. I want to do it in code to make it look that, that much more interesting. Like you could just use After Effects, but I think it'd just be cooler to just do it all in code. But I'd love to do something like that. That's going to be a huge pain on paper because we have to do that in a sense that but we have to do it in a sense that it won't be too distracting. It's the thing.
Understandable. Yeah. Wow. Very cool. Very cool to hear. I suppose, Nick, do you have any more questions regarding either of those games before we kind of wrap up?
The main thing, so Pip is the whole franchise I didn't even realize was in the works here. So I am excited to see both these games when they are released. And what exactly is the estimated time of release for both games? I meant Pip Puzzle will be first, correct? And then Pip 1, what's the ETA on those?
So Pip Puzzle, we're looking to get done or released even by about February next year. Mm-hmm. And Pip 1, I want to get done probably within a year of that. So that's pretty much done already for the most part. We need to update a load of the sprites, do the level layouts, implement the bosses, and tidy up a few things here and there. And then the original game's pretty much done as well.
All right.
So
very cool. Very cool. I'm trying to think if I have any more like feature specific questions regarding Pip Puzzle. Just give me 1 second. Nothing coming to me.
And outside developments, yes. Is there anything you in particular have been looking forward to playing or have been playing obsessively outside of working on the game?
I'm looking forward to playing Mega Man X9 when it eventually releases, but I'm still sitting on that. I'm looking forward to playing Gravity Circuit. I'd like to complete that at some point. Yakuza Kiwami 2 as well.
Ah, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I quite like
Yakuza fan.
Yeah, I love Yakuza, especially Yakuza 0.
Oh, yeah.
Us too.
Yeah. Yakuza 0 is great.
Brilliant game. I'd love to get back into Left 4 Dead 2 as well. Left 4 Dead 2 is
wonderful.
Pal.
Music to our ears.
My wife and I, we are playing verses with our friends weekly at least. It's so gratifying to kill them, as zombies. It's wonderful. I love it. When you get a nice vat of spitter goo and you just, jockey them over there, you'll never be happier in your life.
It's such a brilliant game. It's probably my favorite game, actually, of like hands down my favorite game of all time. If you've got a whole lobby to play and you've got them all into like the same voice chat, it's some of the most fun that you can have online.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you mod the server. Like I'm not talking about wacky mods. I'm talking about things to just balance things out a little,
Yeah, totally.
We'll have to get a game going sometime. Because that game's
it is. It's fantastic. Yeah, I think this is what we can build up a whole. I think the other
get some other devs.
The other developers who mentioned wanting to play Left 4 Dead 2 were also from the UK, so that works out perfectly.
There you go.
Yeah, you got a full team of 8. All right,
very good. Well, then, besides that, I suppose, what's the roadmap looking like post launch? You mentioned early next year to get Pip Puzzle out. Do you have any plans to release updates to that game during its life cycle, or is it kind of just a one and done sort of launch and release?
Any DLC, any NFT characters to be released, perhaps? Is that train still rolling? Anything going on there?
We definitely want to add DLC characters, and we're not interested in charging for them. I figure also we'd probably, benefit enough from just getting the attention. We'd be quite interested in having like crossovers with different characters. I won't speak too much on it because we still need to finalize some of the details, but Squishy was quite interested in, having some of his characters in Pip Puzzle. But we'd be interested in reaching out to other developers and having a sort of crossover between them as well. So we do have one character that we haven't shown off just yet. We still need to polish her up and do everything. Depending on how things go, like depending on how much polish there is, we might have to release her after launch, but hopefully we won't. So she's a sort of, I'll describe her in the best way I can. She's a sort of hopping vampire who has icicles as hands.
Okay, yeah, that's like a quake, right?
Like a Chinese vampire?
Yeah, exactly.
Right on.
So
icicles for hands.
Yeah, and she can throw them. But yeah, and she's also very lazy as well. So we have a reason to delay her.
Okay.
So it's worth noting as well. All of these characters are from the original game as well.
Wow, such rich lore and narrative.
You didn't even know that.
Super neat. Yeah, that's super cool. Okay. Well, I think we can sort of move on into questions from our beloved community.
Yes, their questions.
Yeah, thanks as always, community, for sending them in. Nick, do you want to take them to start?
Yeah,
First question from
starting with Antoids as usual. What do you think low tier god would ask you?
Probably be banned from his chat long before I, had that. We do a bit of trolling.
Yeah. Well, this is true. I assume he would play the game and he might have some questions. He's a real pro gamer.
We have a brainiac.
Yeah, I've noticed. It's funny that you mentioned low tier god because I had a bit of a binge of these videos, like compilations of these videos. I don't.
They
watch
hate him.
But yeah, I probably shouldn't talk about him because he might actually play Pip Puzzle.
Send him that clip. Send him the clip.
Time to get cancelled in his community. But whenever I think of him, I just think of when he's like, get their ass banned or something.
Yeah, the circular, everything.
He does that so much.
Yeah, my motherfucking chat. Exactly.
He's so funny. But yeah, I just had a sort of binge of his compilation videos about, I think it was 2 or 3 months ago. And yeah, he's a funny guy. What would he ask me though? I honestly don't know. I don't know enough about him. All I know is that he's the guy who kind of sorts over, over Super Street Fighter and Tekken.
Well, there you have it, Ants.
He's a funny guy. Antoids also asks, is this game directly inspired by the Prompto mini games from the Trails of series? I haven't played Trails of, so I don't know if he just made that up or if it is real, but that is the other question he had.
I have no idea what that is, honestly. It was inspired by Puzzle Fighter, of course. Super Bub as well. Super Bub, if you know that game. It's a very obscure Net Eurosi sort of game for the PlayStation. Yeah.
Let's see, I know this one.
I do not.
So it pretty much plays like Puzzle Fighter, but it doesn't have super gems. And with the magic gems, so to say, you can use 2 of them at once. It's an interesting game. It's definitely not nearly as polished, but it's got some interesting things. One of the things that I took direct inspiration from with Super Bub is it's got this interesting music. It's a sort of progressive sort of music. And as you play, of course, the music evolves. You can see where I'm going with this. Mm-hmm. And the background also changes, but it changes not quite like Pip Puzzle. With Super Bub, the background flashes as you play. And it has a different sort of intensity to Puzzle Fighter. It definitely, like when you're losing or when one of the players is losing, it definitely has a different feel to it. I always quite liked how it creates that sort of atmosphere. And that's something that I really wanted to delve into with Pip Puzzle.
Oh, yeah. Looking at this, no wonder I've never heard of it. This is a homebrew UK only PlayStation 1 game?
That's right.
Incredible. Okay. I was thinking, like, how did I miss this game? No wonder I've never heard of it. This looks crazy.
Yeah, so Pip Puzzle was originally going to look like that. Actually, in some regards, at least it's going to have like the characters, and you'd move them along like these small characters.
Oh, like on the field,
the scrolling and placing with the worlds, all that.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'd have the bigger characters in the middle.
Right.
We decided against that. Yeah, we decided against that, and I think it's for the better, honestly, because this way we have more gems. One of the issues I had with the original Puzzle Fighter is because you've got less gems on the screen, the matches end a lot quicker. So, and you kind of had that with Super Bub.
Yeah.
I think indie games inspiring people even way back when. And that's real stuff, real homebrew stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, before it was popular as well. Like this is like 1990s or so. Like I first played this sort of stuff in the 2000s, like mid 2000s.
What the hell? Why don't we get any of this stuff?
Back then.
See, Nintendo Power telling us if we pirate, then Nintendo's going to come to our house and shoot our dog.
That's true.
I mean, the UK has to be good at something, and this is what it's good at. I suppose.
You guys got the ZX Spectrum, right?
Nah, I missed out on that.
Yeah, it's the only one I know. This only British console I know of, I think.
That and the BBC Acorn.
Oh yeah, it's Lemmings, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 consoles, so something.
Coming in next from Buns. they ask, what was your first kind of columns / bejeweled type game? I guess you kind of
Super Bub, right?
talking about this. Yeah,
Imagine.
you just mentioned.
Puzzle Fighter probably came before that.
Mm.
But if we're just going to completely ignore that, probably something like Dr. Robotnik's Beam Machine.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
that's a great one. Yeah.
But if you want to be specific to like columns or bejeweled bullets, I didn't really. The first time I played columns was at Gamescom back in 2017. So, and it wasn't my cup of tea, so I didn't like it too much.
Yeah, no character interaction.
No character interaction. I also didn't like the gameplay loop either. So it's just something about it. Like, it's probably a fun game to some, but it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, you hear that, columns fans? We reject you. We reject you in your game. Play something else. Play something with characters. Play something like Puyo Puyo or Mean Beam Machine. I'll play a real game.
Puyo Puyo is even better.
There you go.
I do love Puzzle Fighter though.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I suppose it kind of feeds into their next question. What about titles like Puzzle Fighter? What qualities of theirs stuck with you?
Yeah,
and
the
made
puzzle
you want
fighting
to revisit
genre in particular.
Well, the funny answer is that I could play them. And I was pretty good at them back in the day. Like, I used to be able to beat my entire family at it, even as Dan. Have you played Dan?
Yeah, he's terrible. I did it because I was like, I'm good with the real fighting games. So I used Dan and Puzzle Fighter. Horrible experience.
For the audience, he only drops red gems. So you essentially want to stack up all of your gems and then attack all at once, like one after the other. Dan. But yeah, I used to love playing Puzzle Fighter. I used to be really good at it. Not like a pro level, of course. Like, I've seen some pro players of Puzzle Fighter and that they are insane. They are crazy, crazy good. I'd love to actually get someone to actually play Pip Puzzle. I'll probably do that at some point.
Yeah, they'll be there. Sure. They always have like an off stream or a second stream Puzzle Fighter tournament or something. So I'm sure you can corral them over. You can tell they'll have like the big Puzzle Fighter pins on their lapels or whatever. Be very, very identifiable.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. But there's something else I quite like about, especially this sort of genre of puzzle games. I like how, like, with Tetris and with other games like it, where you've got a sort of playfield, you have a difficulty spike depending on how you play, of course. But with Puzzle Fighter, it feels like it's a lot fairer. Like, if, for example, you screw up at Tetris, you are essentially screwing yourself up for the entire match, unless you can kind of pry together, your board back, essentially. With Puzzle Fighter, I found that you can make some mistakes, but it's mostly okay. And the difficulty also spikes, or not spikes, but it kind of increments as you play, depending on things like your action skill with Pip Puzzle, depending on your, junk gem pattern that you get over, and also depending on, of course, the skill of the other player. I feel like Puzzle Fighter itself as a genre is a very, very interesting it's a very interesting sort of framework to then add things onto and to then augment it and make it something cooler. I think on its own, it's a very, very interesting thing to start with. So that's, in short, that's mainly what interested me about it. There's tons of potential with the genre.
Yeah, exactly.
There is another Puzzle Fighter which I knew about back in 2022 or so. I think it's called Crystal Crisis or something like that. And I was kind of annoyed about this because apparently they have action skills too. And I only just found out about them, at PAX East. But yeah, they're quite interesting as well. So when it comes to this sort of stuff.
Oh, I see. I'm just pulling it up right now. Oh, it has some of the characters from that cave story in it as well. That's right. Yeah, right on. And all sarcastic people. Oh, and Astro Boy's in here too. Whoa, this is wild. Although, admittedly, the art style's not from the kind of 3D models of them. But
yeah, I don't want to. I won't disparage someone else's art style, but it's not for me either. Honestly, I don't like the gems too much. They're just. You don't have. They're just. Yeah, I just don't like doing it. Feels kind of unsacrosanct. Is that the right word? I'm not sure.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, I don't like the gems too much in that game. So no, I don't like the art style. It's a cool idea though, having like a sort of 3D puzzle fighter.
Yeah, no, certainly.
Let's add that to the list of games I'd like to play.
There you go.
I have the time.
All right.
So I'd like to try that out and see what they got right.
Yeah. And with that, you kind of answered our final question from our viewer Goon. They were asking what your favorite puzzle game / main inspirations were. I have a final question because kind of talking about this last game got me thinking. Just a light one. Did you ever have any other consideration, like besides the gems? Like, did you ever consider anything else to be what would be falling on the field, or was it always gems from the start? No beans or anything for you?
It was always going to be gems, but I did have, so there is a character that we would like to go for at some point, like reach out to the developers. We have a decent chance of getting them. I won't name them, but we have a decent chance of maybe netting them. And part of their whole gimmick is that they've got different elements to them. And I was quite interested in the idea of if you smash gems as that character, then the gems have a sort of, element to them. So like you've got smash and then you've got like flames coming out, or, another smash and electricity and stuff like that. But outside of that, yeah, we pretty much always stuck with gems. So cool. we did have the closest thing I can think of that we did change is we used to have like a magical gem, and that was like our rainbow gem to smash everything of a certain color.
Mm-hmm.
And then we changed that to the magic gem, or like the magic potion. And this goes back to the first game, because in the first game, one of the enemies in, I think it's in Botanical Boardwalks, which is the second last stage of the original game. It's a sort of space garden of some sorts. Space garden, which is kind of frozen over because the AC has gone totally wrong. And one of the characters in that has a potion. And when he throws it, it of course hurts you, but it also destroys blocks of a certain color. And I thought it would tie in with the lore, and it would also be interesting to have this magical potion be, essentially in Pip Puzzle and then call back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, though, we've pretty much always had, the sort of gems that you see.
Cool. Well, very cool. Thank you for those insightful answers. Nick, any final questions from you?
No, I think I've asked everything that my mind could possibly conjure. Although I do want to know more about the first game, but I guess we can see that off the record.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Well, then, yes, I suppose that brings us to the plug section of our program. Benny, where can viewers and listeners find your game?
So you can find our game on Steam, of course. You can just search up Pip Puzzle and you'll find it. You can also find us on Twitter as well, or X. I just call it Twitter. It's still Twitter. But you can find it on there, and you can find developer updates and animations and stuff like that. You can also join our Discord as well, and we're going to be looking into getting some testers in if you're interested. So
Exciting.
If you're interested in testing out at any point.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, we'll leave all those links below, as well as any of ours, as always. But yeah, that brings us to the end of today's show. Benny, thank you for coming on today. It has been a pleasure learning about your games, not just Pip Puzzle, but the sort of greater world of Pip.
The whole greater Pip universe.
It's very intriguing, and we are wishing you and your team the most success and best wishes. So thank you. And for the rest of you, take care of yourselves. Until next time, keep on gaming in the free world.
Stay inside, play more games.